Silly. There we go. Hi, everybody. You are watching Simply SACdian, no title required. I'm going to move some things around here. Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. So this is Zoph, and I'm sorry I wasn't here 2 weeks ago. I had COVID and felt like poop. But now I'm back, and I'm not COVID girl anymore. But now I have to wait. How long are you supposed to wait after you had COVID before you get your COVID shot? Isn't it like a month? Is it 2 weeks?
I don't know. I don't
Somebody
know.
somebody let me know because I still need to get my flu shot. And if I'm going to get a flu shot, I'm going to get a COVID shot while I'm at it.
Somebody put that in the live chat for Zoph, please.
Take out both arms at the same time. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go do geek girl stuff while Lucas takes over. Take it away,
Well,
Lucas.
I do the spiel. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Simply Skating, no title required. Back with two hosts again. And listen, turnabout is fair play. That was completely. How many times have I ducked out on my laurel? So that is more than 10. More than 10, I would imagine. So that was completely fine. I loved having my Dora along for the ride. And I apologize that I'm only half as entertaining when Zoph isn't here. That's, you know what I mean? Like that's, I need her to shine. But so let's talk a little bit about the show. All right, you all know the deal. You've been watching the show now. We're in season 4. Okay, so you know what's going on. We again always say it. We love our peers. We love the people who have achieved rank in the SCA, and we're very thankful for those people. But there are so many of us that don't have it for various reasons. We're working towards it. We kind of don't need it, or we don't really know how to go about getting it. But those people are just as knowledgeable, just as interesting, just as entertaining as anybody else. And we want to give them a forum. We want to give them a place where we can showcase their talents, their knowledge, and get them out to you, the good people of the known world. So Simply SACdian, no title required. Just like it says in the name, you do not need a title to be here. So, but we can't give you quality programming like this unless I said quality programming. You can laugh at me. Quality programming like this unless you reach out to us and get us guests. You got to do some of the work, everybody. I'm sorry. So your homework is, I'm a teacher, it's fine. Your homework is go to that Facebook page, find the form to fill out, and suggest somebody. Maybe it's you, but I guarantee you, if it's not you, you know 10 yous that you can give us. You know those people in your local, in your kingdom, whoever it is that you think that we should talk to. And we want to talk to anybody and everybody. All right, not just fighters, not just craftsmen, but I mean, like again, like I've said many times on the show, I have learned some of the coolest things here that I never would have gotten anywhere else. So many things, so many branches, so many subcategories of the wonderful stuff that we all get to experience in the SCA. So we need you. And again, my challenge is open. All right, nobody's met it yet, but I want somebody from foreign shores. All right, we're East and Mid. We're in the United States. I need somebody from somewhere else. All right, so come on, hit me up. Challenge laid. All right, we're the SCA. You want to accept the challenge? I know you do. All right. You know who accepted the challenge tonight? Because I'm the master of the segue. All right. Tonight we have Elspeth Swann with us tonight. All right. From see, and then I get in the role, and I'm about to say the name again, and I think I got it. All right. Lives in the March of Quintarian. I think maybe I did it partially right. In Brentoken, longtime deputy Chandelaine, rapier fighter who just got their Cavendish knot at Penzig 51. All right. Known for their love of women and gender non-conforming fighters. So awesome there. Came to the SCA not planning to do fighting, but learning dancing instead of rapier fighting. The Blades of Brendoken welcomed her with open arms, being her first teacher and mentors. Came to the SCA around July 2015. So almost a decade in the known world. So welcome to the show, Elspeth. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well.
All right.
All right.
Um,
So
you want
let us know, how did you get into the SCA? How did you find the SCA?
My first experience happened at a anime convention up in Bowling Green State University called Anime Marathon with the March of the Marches, which is one of the Red Spears groups. And then I lost track of the SCA for about 2.5 months. Ran into one of the former seneschals for the Barony of Brendoken at a Civil War show, of all things, locally. Found out he was local and he introduced us to the SCA with about a month and a half before Penzic in 2015. And we went to our first meeting 2 weeks before Penzic that year. It might have been the week before Penzic.
So what is it about the SCA that drew you in?
The fact I can have vivid colored hair, I can be bright, colorful, fight. My partner and I come from actually a Civil War reenacting background. So being a woman, I wasn't allowed to fight. I wasn't allowed to go off onto the battlefield as a Civil War reenactor unless I didn't look like a woman. Where in the SCA, I can go off onto the battlefield dressed in a skirt for all I care. And that's kind of how I'm like, I can be me. I can wear pants. I can wear kimono one day and full Elizabethan the next day.
I mean, that's great. So coming out of how long were you in like the Civil War reenactment kind of world? That kind of world.
About 6.5 years.
Wow.
Wow.
We left the Civil War community during the pandemic. We're like, finally, we're done. We can't keep balancing the two.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that just clothing wise, that's got to be, on both sides of the fence there. Pretty challenging.
Yeah.
So you came here now. It says in the bio, you originally kind of came in thinking you were going to learn dancing, and then you went to rapier fighting. Like, were you kind of convinced coming through the door, like, well, they're not going to let me, like I guess with the Civil War baggage kind of in the back of your head? Is that what you mean by that, or?
Yeah, a little bit of that. There was at Anna Marathon, there was dancing demos, and that really at the time fascinated me. I have a dance background to begin with, so I'm like, oh, I want to learn dance. But rapier also kind of was in the background at the same time, but rapier was always a secondary. I wanted to learn dance, sewing stuff. So I'm like, do things I know how to do.
So what is it about fencing that drew you?
Probably the fact that it's like dance. There's a history behind it where dance and rapier fighting kind of correlated for a long time. There's French court documents that required both dance and rapier fighting for their courtiers. And that kind of drew me in. I'm like, yes, please. But also, I kind of got drawn into rapier fighting because of my partner and one of my big brothers in the rapier community, Dane, who no longer plays. He kind of were like, this would really help with your hand-eye coordination. Come and learn how to fight. And I started learning how to fight. And I'm now working on my way to becoming a mod.
Nice. Are you dependent to a mod yet, or?
Not yet. I'm looking.
So I'm not sure about the hierarchy of fencers. Can you explain? Because I know we have a couple cadets. What's a cadet?
A cadet is a dependent of a warder, which is a bronze ring. And then there's there's also can be cadets who are dependents of mods, masters of defense. And it really just depends on where, who, and where. Like Brendoken is really heavy into bronze rings. We don't have any warders yet. But like down in middle marches, it's very mod heavy.
Yeah, you think as big as the Brendoken area is. Brendoken is just north of Columbus and south of Cleveland. Northeast Ohio area is where Brendoken is for people who are curious. But fencing is so big in Brendoken, it's kind of interesting to me that we don't have a mod yet.
Yeah. Well, we had a mod. His name was Sir Master Seamus, who had originally came up from Trimaris, and then he moved back down after he didn't win the baronship between him and Cadogan.
Oh, okay. We're going to ask something. Go ahead, Lucas. You're muted, Lucas.
Sorry, I don't know how that happened.
Hopefully you hit the mute button by accident and then you're muted.
That's why I have the green belt, everybody. That's why. Right there. Um so uh so do you I mean, you were talking about how wonderful it is to kind of like change up the outfits and whatnot and have all this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you play in a particular area though? I mean, you seem to be really knowledgeable about like, the court life of a specific area. So do you have like your persona, is it locked into a particular area, or are you just kind of like playing the game?
I like playing the game. I have a very much a Scottish name, but I love Middle Eastern clothing. And Japanese clothing. I haven't worn that much lately. I've fallen more into Middle Eastern clothing because it's pants and jackets a little bit easier to switch between armor and court wear. I can go off in martial and court wear and have an easy day of it.
Now, I mean, again, just you were in the Civil War reenactment, and then now you're in the SCA. Did you always kind of have a love of history, or was like, like what? Again, we talk about gateway things, here, like, and we were talking a little bit about like fantasy novels in the green room, you know what I mean, before we started. So like, how did your kind of love of that kind of make its way to the SCA?
I grew up watching PBS from a very young age. I've always had a fascination with history and geography. Some of my best subjects in high school and middle school and elementary school were always history. Those were the classes I excelled in, history and science. And I could remember facts and places and people from a very young age. And that's really what started it. And I also love fantasy books. Some of my first books were fantasy books, and it kind of, the SCA brings the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's, all right, awesome. So do you now let's talk a little bit about fencing. So you started fencing. Obviously you're qualified in everything, I would assume.
I just have soft parry right now.
Oh, like really?
That is the only thing I have left to qualify in other than becoming a marshal.
Okay. What's your favorite form so far then?
So we're sword and fan, which is a unique form I kind of developed that was suggested to me by a baronet, one of our former queens here in the Mid-Realm, as well as one of my first teachers suggested that I learn how to fight sword and fan. Same thing, drop. I started learning it back when I first started fighting, dropped off for a couple years, pandemic happened, and then this past year at one of our big tournaments of defense known as the Furtherstrad Rapier Classic, I ran into one of our former queens who's a mod here in the mid realm, and she's like, you should learn sword and fan. That would work really well for your style of fighting. And I'm like, okay. So I picked up sword and fan this year, and it's kind of become my favorite style of fighting.
I'm fascinated. So I imagine closed, it's like a rigid parry, but then so you would fight with it open. But what kind of material are you using? Like, is it specialized fan? I mean,
it's one of my fans from my collection. It has plastic tie-ins to it, and it's a poly fabric material for the fan part, and somehow it holds up super well. It's seen better days. I'm on the hunt for a new one currently to add to my collection.
wow.
And like pretty much the only thing it doesn't work for is melee.
So, one of the things you mentioned in your bio was that you just got your Cavendish knot. Can you explain for our viewers what a Cavendish knot is?
Cavendish knot is the first award in the mid-realm that rapier fighters get for being a rapier fighter. It's the AOA level rapier fighting award for saying, hey, you're doing good, keep going on your way, pretty much.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are there, I mean, again, just because things are different everywhere, is there like there subtle levels then after that before you know, or is it just like, well, now it's qual in all my forms, then become a marshal, then, you know, that kind of thing? Or are there other levels or awards within that?
There's nothing really currently between Cavendish knot and your bronze ring level.
Mm-hmm.
But they are currently working on developing a new rapier award that's similar to the Red Company that the mid-realm has for the heavy fighters.
So the Red Company is for leadership in battle. So it's given for people who, even if they're just a regular combatant and all of a sudden there's a hole and they grab 4 dudes and go run into the hole and fill the hole, that's leadership. So become a sergeant of the Red Company. And so their majesties are working on creating an equivalent of that for rapier, a leadership in rapier battle.
And if you're a fan of the show, last week's 2 weeks ago's guest was a sergeant, and we talked all about that.
Oh, so, did you? See,
yeah,
COVID, I missed it all.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's a good rehash, but those, you know, if you're playing your Simply SACdian, bingo card at home, you know.
So one of the things you mentioned, Elspeth, is the Brendoken blades. Can you not sum up, because we still have time. Can you tell us about the Brendoken blades?
The Brendoken blades are a elite rapier guild here in the barony of Brendoken that is best known for our work on the battlefields at Pennsic. We have cloaks that are the hunter and sable with the gold star and a sword through the star. It was founded by a bronze ring here in the mid realm known as Lorenzo Calabrese, who's no longer playing. Him and a group of people founded the Blades of Brendoken during the founding of Brendoken, because one of our kings was like, we need to bring rapier fighting to the forefront. And the way that we were going to do it was with guilds. And there are still 3 major guilds in the mid-realm, the Blades being one of them. There's Wednesday Company out in the Chicago area, and there is another group, and I can't think of what their name is off the top of my head. But the Blades are specific to the Barony of Brendoken. They're the fighting guild. We have multiple different levels. We're separate from the barony, but we're also part of the barony at the same time. And we're supposed to fight, do the importance of like teaching and leadership in the barony for the rapier side of things.
So then, what you're talking about teaching and whatnot, is there any, have you innovated anything in sort of your next step and kind of looking towards becoming a marshal and whatnot? Do you currently teach like maybe youth or something like that? Are you working towards it that way?
I am working on teaching. I have a private teaching student that I teach every week currently. And then newcomers who start rapier fighting in Gwentarian, I try to teach them combat skills, one-on-one sparring with them, teaching them the things that I know I'm really good at. Mine being the distance between 2 fighters is something I learned really well. And so I teach that and I spar with new fighters. I'm working on a class on teaching sword and fan to people.
We're the sword and fan are there? I mean, again, there's manuals for everything. You can find stuff historically. Where is that from specifically, if you know? And like, how would other people kind of maybe not in your area, if they're like, wow, that sounds pretty cool? Where would they look to kind of start, figuring that out?
Unfortunately, it's kind of a parry device. I kind of was suggested I start using, and then I didn't find anything on it. So I've kind of developed the methodologies to it, fighting with it, how to fight with it through a lot of experimentation. I have some videos over on my TikTok channel of it because it's just fun to watch and see how I fight with it.
All right, well, there you go, everybody. Go find Elspeth on TikTok.
What's your TikTok handle?
My TikTok handle is Elspeth Swann, the Druid.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm known for my Penzik countdown videos. The last 2 years on TikTok, I've done Penzik countdown videos leading up to Penzik.
I think I already follow you.
Videos. Yeah, tell us what you do.
Yeah.
I post. So what it does, I start January 1st, and I post monthly TikTok videos going up till March. And then in March, it goes every other week, counting down the days to till Penzik. And then June, it goes to weekly. And then in July, it goes to daily. I count down the days till Penzik, and I go, hey, we have this amount of days. I want to say right now's current countdown is 290 days till Penzik. And I talk about what things I'm looking forward to going into Penzik, what things I'm getting done. I kind of use it as an accountability for myself on getting prepped for war. I talk about my chainmail stuff if I'm working on stuff to go to give to a vendor that I sell at, stuff like that. But it can go so far. There's a plethora of things, my hopes, things that I want to do while at war get talked about in these TikTok videos. They're usually 60 seconds, sometimes 5 minutes.
That's cool. So you mentioned chainmail.
I'm following you, by the way. I just did that while we were talking. So there
So,
we
all
go.
right. So you mentioned chainmail. Can you tell us about your art?
My art. I started chainmailing about 2.5 years ago during the pandemic. I'm actually currently wearing two pieces of my chainmail. My earrings are my little mid-realm scale mail earrings, and then my Penzik medallion necklace I made this year. It's chainmail, Byzantine weave, and I used it to put my Penzik medallion on it. It took me 2.5 weeks to chainmail. I learned it from a local chainmail artist plus a couple other people. I somehow ran into the chainmail community on TikTok and on Twitch. And I'm like, I want to learn this. So friends showed me how to do it via TikTok and my chainmail friend Pendragon, who is a member of the Great Dark Horde. He showed me how to make chainmail, and then my Penzik employer had a friend who like came one morning, my first Penzik, and was like, "Here, we're going to learn these two weaves," and I learned two more weaves. And I have fallen in love with chainmail. I actually started my own business so that I could go out to Ontario for an event that I want to go to in the next year or two.
Plug the business, please.
Elspeth's Creations over on Ko-Fi is my business. It is raising funds to send me to the Rose and Thorn Symposium, which is a women and gender non-conforming fighter event that I want to bring here to the Mid-Realm. So it's a fighter event that is based on focusing on women and gender non-conforming, both on the heavy list and on the rapier list. And it's bringing in mods and knights and doing classes like symposium type classes. So they're talking about how to be a better teacher to women and gender non-conforming fighters. And it looks amazing. I've actually gotten to talk to the founder of this event that happens every year in Ontario.
What's the name of the event again?
It's called the Rose and Thorn Symposium.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I guess we could deep dive a little bit into that. I mean, for people who would then ask the question, is the sort of mission statement of something like that to teach to the person and not necessarily like, I mean, again, I think obviously most people would assume that like heavy fighting is very male dominated, and males teach males a certain way, and and not everybody moves or fights like that. I mean, obviously, so that's kind of what the mission statement is to teach.
Yeah.
Is to teach the person the best way the person learns, rather than just handing down a set of rules that may not work for that individual. Is that kind of what they're going for?
It is. It's also teaching us how to move our bodies, move women's bodies and gender non-conforming people's bodies move a lot differently than men's. Like my wrists hyperextend. That is very common in women. And my elbows hyperextend. And so there's days where I'm taking a lunge and my elbows will hyperextend and my sword will go off in a different direction than I want it to. And certain things need to be taught different ways. So women tend to need to be taught like not to hyperextend things because we're more prone to injuries. At least I am. I'm super prone. I'm known as the accident prone one. Like one day before Penzik at a fighter practice, I was fighting my fiance, and I actually ran onto his sword doing a lunge. Caused a bruise that big on my shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
So
we were talking about your chainmail, and then we got back to fencing. Got back to fencing. So what kind of I see you have your two necklaces on, right?
yeah.
So that you created. What if someone goes to your Elspeth's creations on Ko-fi? Is the platform? Is that,
Yes.
so that's okay. So what kind of stuff will they see?
They will see earrings like I have on. I have finer, thinner, smaller scales. I have open commissions currently for pride bracelets as well as any other colored bracelets you'd want. I can also do special open commissions if you want jewelry sets. I'm currently working on putting together a necklace, bracelet, and earring set that I actually started at Penzic this year. That I finally finished. I'm waiting. I have to look for some closures, but soon that will be going up on my Ko-fi. Um, there'll be things if you just want to are interested in supporting the cause of going off to on tier. There's a way to just donate that way. There's also updates. I try to post as much as I can. September was crazy because of post Penzic events all in a 3-week period. So I haven't posted much lately since getting back from war. But there'll be posts talking about the things I've been making. I try to post different photographs of projects I'm working on, which reminds me I got to take pictures of that necklace set that I'm working on trying to finish. Um, if there's any special requests on my that you want, you can message me on my Ko-fi. And that's everything that goes on in my Ko-fi.
Okay. So what other art do you do? I mean, do you sew or do you pay people to sew for you?
I pay people to sew clothes for me. I am not very good at sewing clothes. I can quilt, I can patchwork things. My last winter's project was making a giant patchwork sword bag. So I can make a patchwork sword bag, no problem. I can make bags. Bags are kind of my thing. Um, I also embroider. I love to do needlework by hand. Um, I've tried to learn to knit. Tried to learn spinning, drop spindle.
What with the drop spindle? I'm lost. So like what kind of?
Like spinning wool into yarn.
Okay, so like with the wheel and
Yeah.
So, oh, well, it's a long piece of wood and has a disc on the bottom of it. This is totally out of proportion here. The stick is a really long and the disc is really small and it has a hook. And so the weight of you sort of get it spinning and you drop the spindle down and it twists and makes the thick blob of wool into a yarn.
oh, okay.
So it's a drop
It's
spindle because you literally drop it and hold the yarn and you sort of work it like this, and then it becomes you work the wool with your hands and it becomes yarn at the bottom. I love it, but I'm allergic to wool and alpaca. And
Oh,
so
oh,
I will never be able to drop spin. I cannot spin because I'm allergic, so highly allergic to those fat materials.
wow.
But anyway, so that's what drop spindling.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know.
yeah. It's I My big thing is I love crafts that I can do between bouts if during tournament season. I want something I can take and easily pull out of my belt pouch or off my belt somewhere and do it for a couple minutes, give my mind a break from the fight.
Mm.
Or if I need a break from fighting, I can easily pull it out and do it. It's why I love chainmail. It's something easy to transport, and I can just go off. I can throw it in my armor bag and go. That's always kind of been a big requirement for me. It's also why I like embroidery. It doesn't take up a lot of room.
So, do you have any aspirations as far as like any of the crafts are concerned, like chainmail, of doing any kind of A&S comps or anything like that, or is it's just personal passion projects and kind of zen at events, and you don't really have to think about it?
It's a passion project of mine for right now. It's not something I want to focus on. My A&S operations are actually, I want to write a essay on penguins within period.
Oh, well, now see
Yeah,
there,
let's go
there,
into this some more.
new topic acquired, because I think everybody just went, okay, penguins, go for it, like
I'm no, you can ask Zoph. I am obsessed with penguins. My specialty is all things penguins. I have them all over me, and I found out they're actually period. They were founded by a Spaniard in late period. And I've been working on a research paper into penguins in period.
So I don't know. It feels like a weird question, but at the same time, I don't. How do they fit in period then? So obviously they're discovered or whatever, and then what? Are they brought back to court then, and then somehow are they incorporated into art or into clothing somehow? Like, is that
Heraldry? Actually, penguins are a period heraldry thing. I had my penguin passed for my heraldry. They are somehow period for history, and I could use them as a heraldic device.
Oops.
That's awesome. I'm sorry. In my brain, I'm laughing at the penguin rampant. I'm just, you know what I mean? Like,
Actually, it's a penguin evil. So it's
okay.
a left-handed penguin that is all purple, because if you can't tell, I am purple obsessed. I'm like, my hair's purple, I have purple jewelry constantly. My armor's purple, my boots are purple. I even have purple gloves. I actually had to special order purple gloves.
That's amazing though, with the penguin. I never would have thought that. But that's so then what kind of research are you looking into as far as the penguin in period is concerned?
Right now, I'm looking into where they were first founded. So right now, my chain of thought theoretically was people were selling around South Africa, which is one of the places where penguins are found.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was called the Cape of Good Hope, which would be a stop off for them to resupply their ships on their way to Asia to get spices and stuff. So I'm like, that makes perfect sense. They would have had to have interacted with them on the beaches. Prior to that, they were going to Asia one way or another. And it was actually a Spaniard, if I remember correctly, who found them.
Wow. I mean, they've been around for thousands and thousands of years, but it was some white dude who finally discovered them, and that was when they became official.
That is a question I get every year I teach something. How do you discover something that already has people on it? And I'm like,
Be white.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Still, I've never discovered anything. Never
Also,
found anything.
there was penguins in the northern hemisphere They have found bodies of penguins that were giant.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, they were like bigger than emperor penguins. Um, that lived in like Europe that were hunted to extinction.
Of course they were.
And then there's also puffins who live on the Falkland Islands.
Hmm.
They're related to penguins.
What are the ones that are in New Zealand? Because I have a girlfriend who lives in New Zealand and they have them there.
I think those are little blues.
Are they puffins or are they penguins?
They're penguins.
Nice. Okay. Because she sends me pictures every once in a while.
They are the most adorable ones, other than the South African ones, which are my favorite ones.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're turning in late, yes, you have found um, Simply Penguin, no puffin required. And we found out again, if you're just coming, we found out that penguins are period. And again, we're discussing the fact of why wouldn't they be? They've been around forever, but it's I guess I mean that's something that you would see on a heraldry, and you would think to yourself because of the way that they've sort of been marketed, I guess is a good way of looking at now in modern society. You'd think that's not period, like you know what I mean. But that's incredible that it is. It's heraldic. I think that's awesome. You know what I mean. And just kind of shows I don't want to say our ignorance, but our hubris. I think in some ways that we wouldn't consider that, but it's a bird. Why wouldn't all manner of things are there. I think it's wonderful. And I love that you got it passed. That's like super
Yes.
cool. That
Yeah.
was that a relatively painless process, or did you have to here's the documentation along with it?
Surprisingly, that was the least painful part of getting my name and heraldry passed, was getting my heraldry passed. Because I did it all in one go via online during the lockdown. I did the online heraldic stuff.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm gonna just get this done while I don't have anything else to do. And they're like, okay, what do you want? I need a purple penguin facing the left, and I want something with rapiers and sewing needles. And they're like, okay.
Nice. Nice.
That sounds like the most random Chat GPT art thing that you could get made, and then but it's great.
Wow. Back in my day, you had to hand draw this stuff. You had to work with a herald or they drew stuff for you, and you didn't have none of that dang nabbit AI stuff.
And my name gave me the more issues. I'm like, my name, because they thought it was so close to the Pirates of the Caribbean character.
I mean, but Swan is such a period name. I mean,
it is. I know of at least 3 swans within the whole entire North America SCA group.
Wow.
One of them I'm actually related to. The one is actually my god sister, who also mentioned the SCA to me a year and a half, 2 years before I joined the SCA.
Oh, that's cool. Is Swan a family, weird family name?
It is her it's part of her family's name, on her dad's side, and I wanted something to honor her dad, who had passed away, who was my very important part of my life growing up. And I'm like, okay, I want something Scottish. He was a proud Scotsman. So I'm like, I'm going to use her last name and find a name I like.
Nice. All right, we are almost out of time. It's time for the final question. What can the SCA do better?
That is probably one of the hardest questions, because I live in such an awesome group for the most part. I'm like, but I feel like we could do better with being a little bit more diverse in welcoming new people, recruiting younger folks. Like my partner and I, we came in and we were 24, 25 years old when we joined the SCA. And it's like, it was hard for me at the beginning to like get stuff and do stuff back then. But I'm like, it's finally taken me a close to 10 years at this point to get everything and do everything.
What were some of the roadblocks?
Money at the time. We were young, broke, 20-something-year-olds. So it's like now we both have decently steady jobs. It's like, and there are a lot of college-age students that are new to SCA who don't have a lot of money. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of people who have been in the SCA 20 plus years and are like holding us back from like getting the newcomers like integrated quickly into the SCA. I've noticed that a lot lately, and I've heard a lot of people complaining and saying, yeah, I can't find my people in the SCA and just leaving. I'm like, something's going on. How do we fix this? Because otherwise we are going to just end up like the Civil War reenacting community that is slowly aging to the point it's going to die down in the next decade.
Yeah, I mean that's a common theme on the show. You know, that what are you pointing at yourself for?
I'm pointing at my cat over my shoulder.
All right.
She there. But one of you has a cat that keeps meowing, and Sula is like, what's going on?
My cats sleep in the basement, and that otherwise they're on your head at 3 a.m. My wife has put the cats to bed, but of course that door is right there, and there's nothing I can do. Finnegan, sorry to talk about my cats. Finnegan cries. It almost sounds like the most pathetic word hello that you've ever like. He's like hello, like hello. Is anybody up there? Yeah, it's pathetic, and so that's what he does, and he'll do that until we shut all the lights and go to bed, and then he's like crap, and he goes downstairs and he goes to sleep, but or whatever he does, builds a house down there. I don't know whatever he's doing, but no, but it's cats aside.
Anyway, go ahead.
Cats also heraldic, everybody. So that is a common theme that we've had on the show, is that this, how do we attract newcomers? How do we make it attractive? How do we, but I understand what you're saying. It is an expensive hobby if you are really going to like deep dive into something. I mean, those swords aren't cheap.
No, all my rapiers are secondhand from members of the barony who were getting out of rapier or couldn't fight anymore. Like my longsword has been being used in our barony for 30 plus years. It came from Master Giles, who was a master cheesemaker who brought cut and thrust to our area. And I authorized 2 weekends ago in longsword with that sword. I'm like, and we get lucky. My partner and I've gotten really good at finding cheap, decently used swords. I'm like, I finally last year bought my first brand new custom 2-order set of armor because my armor died during the pandemic. So I actually finally bought new armor. Like I spent the last year putting money towards re-upping my armor set.
Right.
But I spent over $500 re-upping my armor. And I just dropped another over almost $500 on chainmail. I'm like, broke college students don't have that price.
No, no.
No. And it's sad. And I'm like, I want to encourage people to come and fight. I'm like, come and fight, come and learn something.
I mean, have you ever experienced too? I mean, again, we hear stories. I don't know. I don't personally know anybody except it kind of happened to me. But people who get sort of talked down to because their garb isn't quite, the period police, as it were, come for them. But again, it's what you can manage at the time, yeah, no, we again, that's something. And young, I mean, again, the sort of conjunction of that is the young people thing too. But not being able to find your people, I find that to be a little bit more of a scary proposition. I mean, we can circumvent money with loaner gear and trying to be, but that aspect of not finding your people, that's a scary phrase to hear new people say, because that means that those older folks are circling the wagons. They're gatekeeping, and that I think that more than anything is going to be the death of us.
Yeah. And it's, in all honesty, why I started having fun with my hair is to welcome those new people. It's like being a deputy shadowling, you can easily point out, hey, where's a shadowling at an event? Oh, Elspeth's over there. You can't miss her. She's the one in purple.
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm always in a color that you can find me in. I'm like, as my March's deputy shadowling, I'm like, okay, you can find me. Or I'm at Penzic and I'm at Newcomers Point, because that's where I found my people at Penzic, was at Newcomers Point. Oh, she's off doing this. You want to go do this? Or like, I met a dad and his daughter at Penzic last year, and they were like new. This was one of their first events, was Penzic 50. And we sat and we talked in one of the cafes one afternoon, eating lunch. And he was like, oh, and this little girl's eyes lit up when I'm like, oh, she's a fighter and everything. That's my big thing. I love seeing little kids, especially little girls, who light up when I take off my helm and they see me and my braids and all my cuteness. And they're like, she just went and beat up that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of
That's
time.
become my big thing.
You're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful, just to be that person, to be that beacon, and put yourself out there. I think it's great.
All right. We have been talking with Elspeth Swann, and I'm working on getting a guest for 2 weeks from now, but that's also Samhain. So the 31st of October. So we may be skipping a week, simply because I don't know, because of the preponderance of pagan people in the SCA, to be completely honest, pagan and heathen, they're not going to really want to be on a show or watch a show on All Hallows Eve. So we may skip a week, but Lucas and I will let everybody know, of course, whatever we're going to do.
I have one of those in my own home. I have a budding pagan, so I know that holiday is special. And she's waving at me in the background. Y'all saw her last week, but yeah. So I was going to talk to you about that anyway. So, but
I know I'll be at fighter practice.
Yay.
I also must trick or treat with my youngest too. That is also a moral.
Our trick or treating is the weekend before Halloween.
Saturday before Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. You have been watching Simply SACdian, no title required. We will see you all in 3 weeks, I guess, which will be November 7th or something like that. Yeah. Something
Sure.
like that. We'll see you then. Thank you to Elspeth for being our guest, and have a great one, our friends. Wait, no, I just tried to stop it and it didn't stop. Now it stopped.
Yes.